Oops, excuse me.
Oh no.
What is going on, Dan? You know what I think it is, Dan? I think it's because we are NFC East fans, Dan. I think that's what it is.
Oh, I know.
That's what's going on, Dan, because we're NFC East fans. But guys, It is Thursday night. It is 6 p.m. It is the NFL Weekly Show. My name is Paul Spencer. That man next to me is the Guru. He is Dan Connor. Dan, how we feeling, brother?
Pretty good. I had the first day of the combine today, so NFL season starting to get off season starting to get in the work. So free agency coming up, but we're here to talk about the Afc South today, and it's nice to see the combines start to get going. It's an exciting time.
I'll be honest with you. I haven't really watched any combine, Dan. I'm really going to tune in Saturday most likely because I want to see the quarterbacks out there because there's some quarterbacks that are, to me, are there, but some of them are a little bit more hype than usual. And the one I want to see is I want to see some of them how they're throwing the ball, Dan. So I want to see that.
I know Sanders probably isn't going to throw, but these guys have pro days too. I think the key about being at the combine is the interview process. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Agree.
See how smart you are, see what your character is, see how you answer your questions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's not the best quarterback class, but there are some talented quarterbacks, just not as talented as other classes.
Agree.
So yeah, I'm very interested to see the wide receivers too. And the defensive backs, the corners and stuff like that, which they went today, I think.
Agree, 100%. Yeah. Eddie checking in. What's going on, Eddie? He said, Paul and Danny, what's going on, Eddie?
What's going on, man?
But Dan, let me ask you, before we get into it, there's something that's like with the testing, like you said, the IQ. How do you feel about the Wonderlic test, Dan? I mean, like, okay, you score bad on the Wonderlic. Does that really initiate on the playing field and in the locker room and in the film room, Dan? What is your take on the Wonderlic?
I don't think that's fair because you could not be smart in that. You could be football smart, like on the field.
Exactly.
I've never taken the Wonderlic test. I should try it one day just to see what it's like. I've never taken it. Have you ever taken it? I've never tried it.
Is that something
But what do they ask? Like, what type of stuff do they ask on the Wonderlic test? I have no idea what questions they ask.
I mean, it has to be like job. It has to be like job related. You're going for an interview, of course. Like, hey, Dan, if a customer gave you, an attitude with this, how do you reply to it? I mean, it's got to be in the football.
No, I don't think so. I don't know because some guys are football savvy and they're great, knowing the X's and O's.
True.
And they're not. They won't do exactly good on that test. For quarterbacks, I think it makes a lot of sense for defensive players, for centers. But it just tests your IQ, basically.
Yeah.
And not every player has the best IQ, but Lawrence Taylor doesn't have the best IQ probably, but he's an amazing football player.
Very true.
The X's and O's. There are players that are just great football players.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's exactly the whole gauge because you could not do well in the Wonderlic and then go to an interview with a team and go over film and be fine.
That's true. I mean, is there a way that we can? Is that something downloadable, Dan, that we can actually just, for shits and giggles?
I don't know, but for shits and giggles, I would like to just try it just to see what I would score on it.
I would. I want to see that too. Yeah, I want to see that too. I actually want to sit down and take the Wonderlic test. Like
we should do it. We should do. We should take it and reveal our score or something.
That's what we're
going to like a low score. Like I posted this after.
God, oh my God! This idiot quarterback beat me. Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, right.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hey, listen, before we get started, I want to make sure this everybody knows this show is brought to you by 1-800-HURT-123, Jason Fine, Attorney Big Al, Motor Vehicle Accident, Slip and Fall, Workman's Comp, Personal Injury Claims, 3 convenient locations throughout Pennsylvania, New Jersey, first in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, and my neck of the woods, Pittsburgh, PA. Also in Jersey, Cherry Hill. Make sure you reach out to him, 1-800-HURT-123, Attorney Big Al. And listen, no recovery, no fee. Mention Out of the Box Sports Entertainment. He takes your case. Once again, no recovery, no fee. You're not getting that 50% rate. You're not even getting a 40% rate. You're getting 33 and a third percent. Highly unheard of through any lawyer nowadays in 2025. So make sure you reach out to Jason Fine, 1-800-HURT-123. Mention Out of the Box Sports Entertainment for your 33 and third percent family discount. No recovery, no fee. So thank you, Jason. Thank you for sponsoring our great show. As always, you sponsor the network here, so we appreciate that. But Dan, who's this?
Here?
Oh, Fantasy Football Girl Advice. Howdy, guys.
She's a Colts fan. So
that's right. She is a Colts fan. That's right.
We'll be talking about the Colts. Not last, I think the second, I think. Howdy, guys. Has anyone watching the combine so far? Who is the player you're watching? Me personally, since we have the third pick, I'm watching the quarterbacks. Whoever throws, Ward I think will throw, but Sanders won't. People like Graham, the defensive lineman, Abdul Carter. There's also a cornerback from Michigan. I forget his name right now that I like. So I'm looking at players that are top 10 players, like top 5, because we have the third pick.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I'm looking at personally.
I'm on the same boat with you, Dan, even though we have the 12th pick. I'm looking at Gente, of course, another, maybe a third left tackle, possibly an offensive lineman depth. But the name that I really want to see throw the ball, I think he has one of the most deadliest deep balls, one of the most accurate balls in this right now in the draft is Kyle McCord from Syracuse, Dan.
I was going to say Kyle McCord. I like him as a prospect. He's not the strongest arm, but his footwork is good. His technique is good.
Yes.
He can read defenses. He's mobile. Kyle McCord had an outstanding season at Syracuse. They didn't really have a whole lot. So Kyle McCord is a guy I think is going to impress some people at the combine. I think he's going to go up the draft boards. I think he could be a first-round pick if he has a good pro day, if he has a good interview process, and how he looks throwing the ball. I think Kyle McCord is a guy I look at. If he's going to take the first round, we don't take quarterback. I would take him in the second round. I agree. At least I don't think he's a throw. I think he's late first, early second round pick.
I agree 100%, Dan. I mean, coming from Ohio State when Will Howard took over after he left to go to Syracuse, at Ohio State, he put up good numbers, Dan. He still threw for 3,000 yards at Ohio State. Of course, they have weapons. But then he goes to Syracuse, Dan. And you know what? I had to look on Wikipedia for the wide receiver of Syracuse. They had nobody, Dan.
They had nobody, and that's impressive.
He threw for 4,500, Dan. Broke the record down there in the ACC ever.
He had more yards than Ward had.
Yes, he led the nation. He broke every record in the ACC this year, Dan. He broke every record total.
Yeah, I think a lot of people at Syracuse, some people don't think of him, but I think people that know quarterbacks and know the game, they're looking at him. Yeah, he's a guy I look at very closely. If I can't get a Ward or a Sanders, say if I'm me, or if you're the Browns, or if you're the Raiders, maybe McCord at 6 for the Raiders makes sense. But I don't want to get off on tangent because we're talking about AFC South today. But I'm very interested to see the quarterbacks because we need one.
Yeah, well, just like Eddie says McCord can make all the throws that a quarterback needs. But Eddie, I've watched this kid when I lived in Philadelphia for 30 years, St. Joe's Prep, where my kids went. I actually got the privilege to watch Kyle McCord play through 4 years of high school, and I knew this kid was talented. He just makes every throw look so simple. So I want to see this kid move up. Before we get into the AFC South here, I've seen Abdul Carter been struggling with a foot injury. Carter has been linked to the Titans. We will talk about that because it's kind of linked to one of the.
Man. He's talented, man. But that injury.
But a stress fracture, Dan, that's something that teams, they pass on a stress fracture, Dan.
You think about the Jags and the Titans, the Titans and the Browns, and us. We need one, but I don't think he's going to be a top 5 pick just because of that stress factor. That's not to say he's not one of the best players in the draft.
Right.
But he'll be top 10, but I don't think he's going to go top 3 like people think. That concerns me. That's all.
I mean, I know he's not going to do anything he's not doing anything in the pro. He's going to do his pro day, but I think that's where it's going to fall. How many eyes are going to be on that stress fracture during his pro day?
A lot are going to see. see the
Yes.
medical on him and stuff like
Yep.
that. It's always a concern with your injury. Like Penix had a worse injury, but that's
Oh
the
yeah.
reason like if Penix didn't ever get hurt,
Hmm.
he might have been #1 pick.
I
He
agree.
might have
I
been
agree.
two minimum,
Yeah,
top
I
5
agree.
easy.
100%,
So
100% agree.
yeah,
Well, Dan, let's talk about AFC South before we go. Talk about individual teams here. We'll go through the record last year. Of course,
yep,
the top of the cream of the crop here was the Texans, 10-7, the Colts,
yep.
8-9, the Jags, 4-13, led by the #1 pick in the NFL draft this year, the Tennessee Titans at 3-14.
Oh
Dan,
God, they were bad, man.
we did the show last year, as we always do. We go through every division before the season starts. We talk about
Yep,
everything as we're doing now.
yeah.
We did this, Dan. We both had the Texans winning the division, but Dan,
They struggled this year.
they did. That's the thing. They struggled. Dan, the Colts, we said maybe 9-8, right now, rough range. They were there. But Dan, can
Right
we?
there, 8 and 9. But I think Stroud did have a good year. It's 3,700 yards.
A lot of injuries,
20
though, Dan. A lot of injuries, though, on
for
his
them,
offensive
yes,
side.
20 touchdowns, 12 picks. That's not bad.
Not bad.
Mixon had a good year, 1,000 yards,
Mm-hmm.
245 carries. He only played 14 games.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Um, so Nico Collins had a real good season for them. But
True.
but Diggs got hurt. That kind of hurt them.
And then,
He only played 8 games.
yeah, and who was the why was it Tank Dell that had the gruesome
Tank
injury?
Dell.
He might be
Tank,
out for a year, Dave. Danny. I
Tank
mean, he might
Dell.
be out.
Oh, he played 14 games and didn't do much at all.
Exactly.
He
I mean,
had
Nico
9.
stole the show.
Oh, that's hold on, Tank Dell. That's not bad. 51 receptions, 667 yards,
Okay, that's a
3
number two. That's not
touchdowns.
bad. Mm-hmm.
But he got hurt late in the year. Tank Dell, I think.
Agree.
But
Mm-hmm.
didn't Dell get hurt last year too?
I think he's had 2 injuries back-to-back season. But this one
Yeah.
here, when the bone popped out of this, the whole leg there, that was gruesome. But Eddie says Houston needs O-line help, which we'll definitely talk about. I mean, Mixon and Nico stole the show for them this year, Dan.
Yeah.
Agree with that one. Yeah, but Dan, let's talk about disappointing. My God, the Jaguars, after paying Trevor Lawrence, who set the record
Man.
really at first at $55 million, Dan,
That's
going for it,
ridiculous. $55 million is insane.
and then
And
you
he
go
played
4-13.
and he played 10 games.
Exactly, that's the thing, Dan. I mean, he was sunshine coming out of Clemson. The best thing since sliced bread.
The
But
shining. Yeah, go ahead.
But what has he done for $55 million, Dan? For someone that doesn't play a
No.
full season?
Yeah, that's a concern. But Brian Thomas Jr. had a hell of a year. 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns
Oh yeah,
on
yeah,
87 targets, an average of
yeah.
14.7 a carry. He had 562 yards a yak after carry.
That's
So
big boy football.
Brian Thomas Jr. is an excellent weapon.
Yeah.
But man, like they just had a brutal season. They've had a lot of injuries, and Lawrence just hasn't done well.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hold on.
It's amazing
Let's
how
see.
a quarterback that underperforms gets paid to set the franchise market at first. That's amazing to me.
Because what year did he get paid? Well, we'll talk further
Well,
about when we talk about
right.
about
Yeah,
each
we'll
team.
talk about that one. But
Yeah, them and then the Titans were just awful.
Oh God, Titans weren't awful, Dan. I don't even know if there's a word to describe this team this year, honestly.
And I say another disappointment is the
Mhm.
Colts. The Colts were in the playoffs, and we destroyed them. I don't know
But-
how that happened.
Yeah, well, when we get to them, I'm going to ask you a
Well, we
question
got
about
to
the
them,
Colts
yeah.
when we get there. Yeah, but let's dive right into it, Dan. Let's talk about a very disappointing team. Let's talk about the Titans here, 3-14, Dan.
Yep.
Before we get into the new head coach and new coaches fired, new coach coming in here, let's talk about the 2024 team, Dan. 3-14. Dan,
Man,
okay,
they were
first off,
bad.
let's talk about the quarterbacks in the room, Dan. Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. Do you start over, Dan? Because these 2 quarterbacks just are not the answer, Dan.
To be honest, I don't know. I mean, let's see. Will Levis, 12 games, 2,091 yards, 13 touchdowns, 12 picks. It's not
Mediocre. Okay.
But they also have like nothing. Mason Rudolph had 1,500 yards in 8 games, 9 picks, 9 touchdowns, 9 picks. I don't know. Do they want to give one of them a shot, or because I'm getting rid of one of these guys if I'm drafting a quarterback?
Well,
And and my question is Brian Callahan, their new head coach.
yeah.
Quarterback is one of their biggest needs, and they have the number one pick. So a lot of people are going to take Sanders or Ward. But what if they decide to go the other way? I don't know if Brian Callahan's an offensive coach.
Mhm.
I'm not
He,
sure
he's
as familiar
his
with him.
his pedigree is offense is what he does.
Eh,
I mean, he's a guru of like I consider run the ball, run the ball, run the ball philosophy. You
But
know,
but if I'm the Titans and I like one of the quarterbacks, I gotta take them. I know it's a number one pick,
Ooh,
but they need a quarterback. But how much does it have to do with their offensive line?
okay,
Because you know they need tackle. So how much does that have to do with their offensive line? Pollard had a good year,
he
1,000
did.
yards, 6 touchdowns.
Hmm.
Calvin Ridley had a good year. I do think they have some nice weapons, but they have no real good quarterback. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you had to guess, do you think they're going to take quarterback? Or do you think they're going to just take best player available?
You know what? I can see them taking quarterback because Dan, we talk about
Yeah,
which you and I watch so much college football. Cam Ward, Shador Sanders. You couldn't go wrong with either one of them. Cam
no.
can win without weapons. Okay, Shador I think needs weapons. Number one. Okay,
They also
Cam
don't have much
Ward.
on defense. Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
But
Cam Ward, I think would fit this team so much better. You think about it; they do have a running back, Tony Pollard,
yes,
which
they
in our
do.
division we're very familiar with. We're coming from the
Hmm.
Cowboys. Calvin Ridley's nothing but speed. Nick Westbrook is actually a slot receiver who has speed. Tyler Boyd is your third slot receiver, and also the
Yep.
biggest disappointment was Traylon Burks. He's
Yeah,
always hurt. Dan, imagine if he comes back healthy. You do have it. I mean, you do
yeah. He
have an offensive set.
played 5 games.
Yeah, he hasn't been healthy since he's been drafted, and he was a big
Yeah,
high flyer coming out of college. But
he
if they
hasn't
can stay
had one
healthy,
good season. 11
no,
games,
yeah,
11 games and five.
agree.
He
If
hasn't
they
had
can
more
stay
than
healthy,
500 yards in one season.
agree. If he can stay healthy, I think this team can win with the legit quarterback.
But
Stay at Cam Ward, Dan.
but it goes to show you how much a team sometimes struggles when they have no quarterback.
And you know what? It's a true saying,
And
Dan. I mean,
nothing.
this team here is a true statement that when you have two quarterbacks by committee, who can play better this week? We don't know who's starting next week. It's by committee.
They're
I
basically the
I
same,
I think
both
I
of them.
think I yeah, I agree. I think they're two quarterbacks lead to one starter in their category, Dan. I mean, between Levis and Rudolph here. I don't know, Dan. Do you take that quarterback? I mean, Cam Ward I think is a franchise QB, Dan. I think they couldn't go wrong with him here.
I think so, but the question is Cam Ward the best player in the nation?
Well, we got to look at best player in the nation, but who's drafting? What does the Tennessee Titans need, Dan? The wide receivers they
Quarterback.
don't need. Quarterback number one, right?
Yep.
Offensive line. Hey, they have J.C. Thad Latham. He's good.
Yep.
Skoronski is good. Okay, their
Yep.
offensive line is good, Dan. I'm not going to say they're not bad. You look out. Tell me how many times Rudolph's been sacked. Williams has been sacked. A lot of those, Dan, were covered sacks where he held on to the ball too long.
But
So
who
their
knows?
offensive line is good though.
Maybe
But
we'll get a surprise that'll take McCord.
oh my God, Dan, if that happens, that is a live moment because I know we're going to do a draft live. That is a live
I
moment if
just
that
think
happens.
McCord's going to sneak up the board.
But
That's
Dan,
that's
not
all.
number one. There's no way. Maybe
No.
second. Maybe with that second round pick, they take him. Dan, you
If he's
know,
there, I think that'd be a perfect pick. I mean, even for us, that'd be a perfect pick. But for them, I think it'd be a good pick late if you don't take
agree,
a quarterback. But I think they take Ward or Sanders. I really do. I
agree.
I don't see why not. And then we'll
Mhm,
talk about the Browns some other time. Who knows what the hell they're going to do? The quarterbacks go there to die.
mhm,
But I think they'll take quarterback. I really do.
mhm. And he says the Titans have no wide receivers.
They do.
I think they do. Calvin Ridley, coming off his betting high, fiasco, he's back. He has pure speed. But I think, when you have a quarterback to get the ball down there, I think Calvin Ridley's a better wide receiver than the numbers show, Dan. Tyler Boyd's still good. Okay, Nick Westbrook is a slot guy that can fly.
Yep.
And
And
then
then
you,
you
like
have
I
the
said,
tight end Okonkwo or something.
O'Connor, yeah,
Who did
Cheeky or something like that. Yeah, I think his name is. Yeah.
Boyd, and most of them played every game.
Yeah, I like the wide receivers. I kind of like this wide
But they're
receiver
not
group.
taking a not wide receiver number one. They would take a wide receiver in the second round, or if they have another pick in the first.
Agree,
That's
agree.
what they would do.
Mike Lord checking in. What's going on, Mike? Appreciate you checking in, brother. Appreciate all. Hope is all well with you, man. Appreciate you.
So
Eddie
Mike,
says, Hunter carried Shador.
hmm,
Yeah, but you know what? There was a couple games where
They had a tackle. Colorado has a good left tackle, but that's it on their offense. They have no offensive line mostly and no defense.
that's the thing. That's the thing. I mean, if I'm talking quarterbacks, I'm going Cam Ward because he was at times, Dan, he was a one man show. He really was.
I like Cam Ward because he has the prototypical size.
Mhm.
He has a better arm. I think that Shador Sanders has better footwork,
Okay.
better technique, but Cam Ward is immensely talented. Like he has tons of arm talent. And that's what I like about Cam Ward. And if you're Tennessee,
Okay.
you're rebuilding anyway. You're at the beginning again. So
Mhm.
I don't think it would be a bad pick, but it wouldn't surprise me if they took Sanders either. Sanders just is smaller stature.
Okay.
I think they're
Now,
both talented.
Mike brings up a comment here. Before we get into this comment, I'm going to ask you something.
Mhm.
Regarding Shador Sanders, and Cam Ward, real quick, because we are talking about quarterbacks that possibly go to
Mhm.
Tennessee here, so it falls into
Yeah.
place. But what quarterback fits to the system better? Because you got to look at
Tennis
what you're.
Ward.
Okay, Ward. The reason why I say that is because I think Shador Sanders would be okay here if they did take him for some reason, because we've seen quarterbacks in the past
Yeah.
jump other quarterbacks. We've seen that happen. We've seen that.
Yes, we have. Like I said, you never know sometimes since it's not the strongest quarterback class. Even though you
Yes.
may need a quarterback,
Hmm.
they could decide to take another player that are going to play best player available, and then
Right.
worry about a quarterback later on. I really don't know.
Hmm.
Um,
Because the reason why I
you
say
know,
that is we look at, one team in this division here, the Indianapolis Colts shocked the world taking
oh,
Anthony Richardson so high. Do you remember that? A
I don't
couple
know the
years
answer
ago.
to this. I don't know where Kirk Cousins did go anywhere. I don't think it's
Well,
still in Atlanta.
that's the reason why I brought that up, that
It's
comment
still in
here,
Atlanta,
because
I think.
quarterbacks fit certain molds. Does any of these teams take a trade here? I'm not giving up the number one for Tennessee. I am not giving up the number one. You can't. Jags can't
No,
take them. There's no way. You can't afford Trevor Lawrence and Kirk Cousins contract. Okay.
no,
Do the
nope.
Colts make a play? No, because you have Anthony Richardson coming on his fourth year, third year. You got to pay him in 2 years.
Let's see. The
And
Colts. The Colts have 35 million in cap space approximately. The
mhm,
Jags got 36. Tennessee has 53.
well,
Could Tennessee trade for Stafford? I don't think
I
so.
mean,
I
he's
hope they
been.
do, for my team's sake, but that'd be risky.
That's
But
true. That's
he's good. But
true.
he's good.
Mhm.
Then who's the other team?
But to answer Mike's question, do you think Kirk Cousins is released since Penix is pretty much going to give him the controls pretty much?
Yes,
Where do you think he
yes.
goes? Where do you think he goes? Anybody in this division? I can't see it in this division.
No, I don't think so. The Bucks obviously not. They have Baker.
Hmm.
I'm looking at teams that need quarterbacks. He's not going to the Browns. He wouldn't go there. No
No,
way.
he wouldn't do that. No way, he wouldn't do
I
that. That's
think with Kirk
that's
Cousins,
that's
was
the
what
tell.
I don't want him to come where we are to us. I don't want him.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I mean, if we took a bridge and took him a rookie quarterback,
Mhm.
but I'm looking at teams that need quarterbacks. The Raiders,
What about the Vegas? What do you think about that?
Vegas Raiders, maybe. The Raiders, I think, would be a good option. Depending on what the Raiders want to do, they're probably not going to get a quarterback at 6.
Well,
The
here's the thing,
Colts,
Dan. Here's the thing, Dan.
another one, the Colts maybe
Mhm.
is
Now,
possible, but
I like Mike Lauro saying the Raiders. The reason being is
the Raiders
I
make sense to me.
I thought about this last night, and I was sitting there thinking, I was like, man, what if the Raiders make a play for Kirk Cousins somehow,
You
and
take
then you know what?
McMillan at 6
No, and then you go out and get Ashton Jonte at 6.
or Giante at 6, a running back if you want. But
I was thinking
I
about
also
it.
like McMillan, the wide receiver. I think he's good too. Get another weapon there.
That
But
is true. That you
having
can
a
go wrong
run
with either
game
one.
support and Giante 6, I think that would be a good pick for them, depending on what their other needs are. Would they take a McCord at 6?
I know. I don't think so. I think McCord's definitely going
No.
to be a
I'd
second
say
round.
like the Raiders are that would make sense to me if he wants to go there. And he's getting older, so the Raiders want to do that. Or the Raiders gonna make a move and trade a farm for a
I
quarterback.
I think the Raiders nowadays, Dan, I think they want to build young and start over, refresh with a
I
new
would.
brand.
I
I
would.
don't want to bring in Kirk Cousins for
No.
$55 million a year, and
No.
coming off the ACL injury that he had. And Dan, you remember last week when we talked about this team, Dan, we said that there was games where Kirk Cousins said he couldn't get out of the pocket. He had to stay in the pocket, Dan, with his ankle. He couldn't
Yeah,
do the things that other quarterbacks do out Penix. So I don't think with the Raiders offensive line, that is a clear fit. I agree with him going there, but that offensive line, Dan, he's probably going to play 6 games at most with that offensive line. He's going to be hurt bad. Bad.
exactly. What about the Jets?
Wow.
The Jets could take Kyle McCord. That's a totally different thing now. That's a team that maybe because they have weapons, but no offensive line.
You know what? I kind of like that because there was a guy that he actually played with, Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
He has camaraderie with him. He played with him at Ohio State, Dan.
And he says, yeah, I agree with that, Mike. I think they're gonna release him because Penix showed me that he has what it takes.
Yeah, I just want.
Raiders shouldn't trade the farm. I agree with that too.
Yeah, I agree
Go ahead.
100%.
I'm sorry.
Don't trade the farm for him. Number one, and I agree that they're going to release him, but that dead cap space that Atlanta's going to have to buy and take off that contract is still going to be huge. I don't think it's going to be a 50-50 split. You might get Kirk Cousins, but Dan, he's not going to go to a team for $20 million.
They're in the negative. The Falcons.
Wow. I mean,
so yeah, they're in the negative 5.
Well, maybe at this point, you're not going to get a first for Kirk Cousins. Maybe at this point, you're sitting there, thinking like
you have to get rid of his salary.
You have to do it. You have to bite his contract. It's going to become dead space, but still, you're going to bite a contract where you're going to be liable for it. You're going to be liable for that contract.
Atlanta's got to let go, so they're an older team. They're going to have to figure something out in the next couple of weeks here.
Yep.
After the combine.
Yep.
So,
but get back to the Tennessee Titans, Dan. I mean,
and then they have the new head coach Brian Callahan to see how he's going to do.
Which is a running guy, which tells me the offensive line is okay. But at one, Dan, you go out and get your quarterback, second round, third round, you build that offensive line there or defense in there as well.
Yeah.
But then that third round, then you come back and get that running back, Scadaboo and Omar Hampton from North Carolina and Ollie Gordon out there. That's when you come back.
Ollie Gordon. I like Ollie Gordon.
I love him in Oklahoma State. I think he's a great running back.
Don't you have Edwards from Michigan?
I'm not sold on Edwards. I mean, to me, he might be okay here because when he had Blake Corum, they were a 1-2 punch. That was his best year at Michigan. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then when he left, there was a little bit of downfall. But I think he'd be okay because Tony Pollard, he could expel Tony Pollard here, Dan, maybe in the second round. But, okay, Dan, you're on the clock. You're the Tennessee Titans, which we have the number 1 pick here, Dan. You're on the clock here, Dan. Where's your envelope going? Where are you going?
I'm taking Cam Ward.
Cam Ward. Okay. I would be.
I really like his skill set.
Okay.
He's got the size. He could run. He could also evade rushers.
Sure.
And he makes quick decisions. That's why I like him. It's not always perfect, but his ball placement is impeccable. If you watch Cam Ward film, his ball placement is really, really good. Like real good.
And the best
in pressure situations, falling back, rushers in his face, dodging a rusher and throwing a ball. Like I just like his set and his size.
And the greatest thing about Cam Ward, Dan, if he does go number 1, I think he has the weapons here on this Titans team. A good team with Pollard.
He like Ridley.
Yeah, a good offensive line. Yeah, a good offensive line. But the one thing you mentioned, he has great accuracy. And the greatest thing about him, yes, he can take over a game with his legs, Dan. He can definitely do that.
If he had to, yes.
But
he had to do it at Washington State.
Yeah, but with the Miami team, Dan, he showed something that really, really enamored me. Even though he has the leg ability to get a first down in open situations.
He's a gamer and a leader. That's what I like about him.
But he always kept his eyes downfield, Dan, no matter what. Mm-hmm. The run came second.
Exactly.
That's
what you notice. I was watching a film on Cam Ward, and he's always looking for a target. He makes his reads, and no matter what, he's always looking to get rid of the ball. And I saw someone mention, Chase Daniel was looking at them, and someone said, "Oh, well, he threw 7 picks." I'm like, so he did like 40-something touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
a great ratio.
That's just like Kyle McCord who threw for 4,500 yards.
They might take Hunter. It wouldn't surprise me.
But
they're different quarterbacks. They're different.
But then, if they take Travis Hunter number 1, you look at their corners, Dan. You have Jarius Sneed, okay, and Chidobe Ozwe, who played. He's okay. Do you really want to take a corner number 1, even though you're going to have a package for Travis Hunter on offense? I don't see him as number 1, Dan. I don't see him as number 1.
This is interesting, though.
Titans GM said they will go after a generational type player. Well, that's Cam Ward. I mean,
I think that's Cam Ward, to be
I
honest.
think it's Cam. I listen. I know Travis Hunter is a
Oh,
person
he's
that we haven't
immensely
seen.
talented.
Yes, we haven't seen a player like that on offense and defense. But Dan,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not
Take him
playing
at quarterback, but you're not gonna take him. I don't see the Titans taking him. I just don't.
who Travis Hunter, right?
Yeah, yeah. I just don't see it.
I don't see him playing 100 snaps in the professional league, Dan, as offensive defense side of the ball. You got to pick one, even though you
Mhm.
are going to have a couple plays in there and saying, okay, you know what? Hey, we'll get him on a jet sweep. We'll get him here. We'll get him in the slot. He will be a nightmare, Dan. He'll be a mismatch. But I disagree. I think Ward is that guy, though. Even though I don't like
He
Miami,
could he could be, but like a generational player could be just beat best player available. But I think Court. Uh, some people don't think Cam Ward's good, but he's immensely he's really talented.
mm,
He has more talent. He's like Caleb Williams' talent, or better. He's that talented.
if Caleb ever figures it out, yeah.
He has an even better arm than Williams has.
Mhm. I agree with that. But I think with the Tennessee Titans, I think the best player to fit them is a Cam Ward. Listen, he is a huge upgrade over Mason Rudolph. He is a huge upgrade over Will
Yeah,
Levis.
let's see this.
That's
Oh, I don't agree with that. He would have been the
Ward would
third,
have fit in this past draft.
top five, top
I
three easy with
give
his talent.
Eddie,
Yeah.
give me Ward would have been the fifth or sixth quarterback in this past. Oh well, I don't
I think
last year's draft. You see what's in last year's draft, right?
last year's draft.
I
Yes.
have him number 4. I have him 4.
Yeah, I would say he's 4, but I think he's just as good as May as he has a better arm than May has ever had.
Very true. I have him right at 4 or
Same
5.
conference.
I have him at 4 or
I'd
5.
say 4. I'd
Look,
say
look.
4
Mhm.
easily. He would be the 4th quarterback. He'd be a giant if he was the last year's draft. But
I want
that's
to
what I
bring this.
say.
I want to reply to this one real quick.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Okay, let
I
me
don't know
ask you
about
this, Eddie.
that.
Let me ask Eddie a question real quick since we're
Mm-mm.
on this one. Ward has no leadership because I know he says he quit on Miami. He was pulled, but here's the thing.
He
Do
plays
you
relaxed.
do you have Eddie? Do you have? I won't answer the whole question, but I want to hear your reply before I comment what I want to say. Do you have Shador Sanders higher ranked than Cam Ward? Just let me, yes or no, and then I want to reply to that because I got something to say to you about that. So let's move on, Dan, until I get that reply. Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. But let's get back to Tennessee, Dan. Cam Ward goes there. How do you
Yep.
think is this a 3 to 5 year window yet on a rebuild? You have the weapons on offense, you have an
Mm-hmm.
offensive line, new head coach, which you're given a 2 to 5 year window in some circumstances. How far do we wait for Tennessee to actually be legitimate? Or do they consider themselves a top 3 lottery team again next year, Dan?
I think they're going to be top 3 again.
I agree.
Top 5, because they just don't have a lot. But who knows? It could be 10. You know what I mean? You don't have to win that many games to be 8 or 9 or 10. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Which
But
I agree. I think they're going to be bad next year as well. This year as well.
But I think I just like Cam Ward's talent. I mean,
Okay.
he went to, let's see, UIW. He went to UI. What's UIW? University of India.
IUW?
Yeah, UIW.
Hell, I don't even know what the hell that is.
Incarnate Ward
Oh,
Junior
Incarnate
College.
World. Yes, word. Yeah. Okay. Holy crap.
But everywhere he's gone, he's successful, and he does have leadership skills. He does.
And you know what? He wasn't
What?
even He wasn't even projected a quarterback. Dan, he's learned so much. So
That's one of the things that I hear and have read by people that do know what they're talking about. He has a leadership. He's a leader on the football field.
yeah, I think he's a locker room guy that can build a teams because Dan, there was games where they were down 20 points in the fourth
Yep.
quarter, and he could have folded up right then and there, and he's like, no, you know what? Put it on my back and let's go. There was games, even though they got bailed out on a couple of them, Dan. The Hail Mary, we've seen that, but he didn't quit, Dan. This guy has heart. He has it in him, Dan. He definitely does.
Yeah, like I said, like I know people don't like Cam Ward, but he's got a lot of talent, and I think he'll surprise some people. I hope he throws tomorrow. I don't know if he's throwing.
I don't think he will actually.
Ward or Sanders are top 10 picks for
Yeah.
teams that need
The
quarterbacks.
reason why I asked that because Shador Sanders is a good quarterback to me, but the thing is, but you talk about leadership. Did Cam Ward ever throw his players under the bus like Shador Sanders did? No,
That's
he
what I'm
did not. He
That
never
is
did.
what I'm talking about. He doesn't say stupid shit in media.
Exactly. Hmm.
He carries himself well. Like, I know people don't believe me, but
Hmm.
he has leadership, and that takes leadership.
Right.
It's
The
not
reason
about
why,
just on the field, it's off the field. And
yeah, and
where he's gone, the coaches have said he's a leader.
the reason why I say
So
that, even though his dad, coached Deion Sanders, I never call him Prime Sanders. Deion threw the whole offensive line under the bus. Shador came out and said, we're going to regroup as a team. We'll get better. He never threw one offensive lineman under the bus like his dad did. To me, that
no,
showed a little bit more, you know what? Okay, I'm poised. I'm growing up. I understand that the media's on me. He said the right things. Cam, I just like Cam so much better. I think he's the best fit for this team, dude.
yeah, this I agree with. I would say I think Cam work. I think they both need work, but I like
Yeah.
his size and his athleticism and his arm. That's all. They're two
Mhm.
different types of quarterbacks, but I think both need to go with the right situation. Hopefully, if he gets taken by the Titans, we'll see. So,
Ryan Leaf had talent.
yeah,
Marcus Russell had talent.
yeah.
Well, we're talking about two of the biggest busts ever
That's what
in the
people think.
NFL.
I heard someone said he's Jamarcus Russell, Cam Ward. I'm like, you are on crack.
There's a difference between Jamarcus Russell coming in at 300 pounds after the draft to
Exactly.
his team, and Cam Ward is just a God-given talent all around. I can't compare those two, Dan. I
Yeah.
can't.
What date was this? The bowl game
What's that?
that he left? Are you talking about the bowl game?
Yeah, he's talking about the bowl game where it was
I
just
don't
like,
care about
okay,
the bowl game.
after they got beat by SMU, they just got the
Could
blockbuster
have
beast
could have
game.
could have easily been the coach's decision
Could have
for
been,
all I know.
I don't
It
read
doesn't
into it
mean
too
he's
much.
not a good prospect. I'm sure he'll be asked about it.
But
But
then
yeah, like
again,
I
Dan,
said,
how many players actually object to sitting out of the game? A lot of players say, you know what, I'm not even playing in the bowl game. I'm not doing it.
exactly.
At least he did go out there. I don't care what he does. I look at games 1 through 13 of how you perform. That shows me something. How many fourth quarter comebacks he had, kid talent that he had. Was it Xavier? It was the only wide receiver that they had, Dan. That's all they
Yep.
had. The defense sucked. You got to put up 40 points. He did that, and he won games, and he brought Miami back to what Miami Hurricane football was, Dan.
Yeah, I don't know if you showed this, but yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
but yeah,
Shador
but
didn't do it. Shador didn't do it.
Shador did it. His dad, Dion, did, and
Exactly.
and the coach should never do that. Well, let's
Exactly.
hope Shador isn't like that because I've never heard Shador talk like that, which is good. But
Yeah.
they'll ask Cam Ward that question. Why'd you do this?
Of
But
course.
you
Of
have to
course.
also realize Cam Ward plays very relaxed. He's
Mhm.
cool and calm in the pocket.
That's
So
true. That
that's
is true.
another thing about him. But like I said, we'll see how the Tennessee Titans do, and we're gonna move on to
Well,
the
here's the last
next
comment
team
about
now.
here's the last comment about Cam Ward. Okay, they had to come back against a team like California, but the thing is, okay, yes, California is a very bad team, of course, but Miami's defense, man, they gave up so many points to IUP over here. Basically, they played them. Their defense was
Hmm.
so bad. You can't knock Cam Ward for what his defense does. You just can't. You can't. At
No.
least give him credit for coming back to win the game.
Yep.
Yep. But let's move on, Dan. Let's talk about, oh my God, let's talk about this team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dan, holy crap, Dan. 4-13, Dan. New head coach Liam Cohen here. Doug Peterson's fired. They give Trevor Lawrence the bank. Brinks trucks coming in out the ass, Dan. And you go 4-13 for a team, a quarterback that can't stay healthy more than 10 games
Man.
a season. Talk about this, Dan.
Oh no, man. Oh no. They started the
Wow.
season losing 4 in a row. They won 2 games out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Obviously, the injuries.
Right.
So 13 games, they won 2 games. Oh my goodness gracious, they were so bad, so bad. But when Lawrence is hurt, but even when Lawrence, was healthy the 10 games, they still sucked. Their whole team was just bad, man.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, their contracts are so bad, Dan. Christian Kirk got a huge contract 3
Oh,
years ago.
that
Like,
Christian Kirk contract is awful. That contract is so stupid.
but Dan,
Like
you don't,
we said it when I saw him. Like, I can't believe you
yes,
signed this guy for this much.
And they
And
didn't
what did
learn
he
their
do
lesson,
last
Dan.
year?
They didn't learn their lesson, Dan. They went out and gave Trevor Lawrence a bigger guaranteed money upfront contract for 4 years, Dan. They
Yeah,
don't learn their
Christian
lesson.
Kirk, 8 games. Christian Kirk, 12,
Wow.
12 games in 2023, 787 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
This past year, 8 games, 1 touchdown, 379 yards. For that amount of money.
Well, Dan,
I don't understand. Christian Kirk had one good season, just one. His first season had 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns.
right. I
But
can
the
see that.
last two, bad.
Ever
And
since
he
he
hasn't
got
been healthy.
ever since he got that contract, Dan, he's underperformed in every category: touchdowns, yards,
Yep.
receptions, everything. He's got underperforming all over his name.
Yeah,
Peterson, prob you think he
maybe.
will? I think he will. I mean, he's been around. He's a
I think
veteran.
so. I think
Maybe,
so. He won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, right?
yeah.
One
Mhm.
year. I think it's because of Foles got hot, but whatever.
Yeah, he definitely
Um,
Foles got had the right time going into
and
that.
he had a good first year with the Jags, but when you have injuries, when your quarterback's not playing well, the bright spot about them, Brian Thomas Jr. had an excellent season. So,
And Dan, that was one of the names that we mentioned, all
yep.
last year. Brian Thomas Jr. coming from, the LSU there.
So he
Everybody
did
talked
well no
about,
matter what quarterback was there. He did
yeah.
well.
And he's a guy that took the downfield, Dan. He took the roof off a lot of times
Yes, he
too.
did. Yep.
But the bad thing about his numbers could have been a lot better, Dan, Brian Thomas. But when you have a
Oh
quarterback
yeah.
in, Trevor Lawrence, who barely plays, and you throw Mac Jones in there, who
Oh
barely plays as
jeez.
well, you can't really do anything, Dan. But what are we blaming this on? Are we blaming this on the GM, the head coach, the offensive line, the wide receivers, the quarterback? What do we blame, or the scheme, Dan? What do you think is a problem with the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I don't know if I'd necessarily say scheme, but Ingram only played 9 games. Kirk played 8. Um,
Mm.
Bigsby didn't have that good of a year, but ETN Jr. They had 70 yard rushing yards as a team. No, it's very interesting though. Trevor Lawrence had 172 completions in 10 games,
Mm-hmm.
2,045 yards. Mac Jones 171 completions, 1,672 yards. It's quite interesting. They're almost identical. Because I
And
think
good,
Lawrence would play and not be able to finish the game, and Mac Jones had to start coming in for a couple of weeks. It says 10
yeah.
and 10, 10 and 10 for both of them.
That's wow, 10-10. Wow,
They
for
each
an
played
entire
10
season.
in 10 games.
Wow. I mean, you can't go quarterback here, Dan, number one, because you got to bite Trevor Lawrence Sunshine's contract. You can't do that.
Nope,
But Dan,
absolutely not.
I like the running backs. I like ETN. I like Tank Bigsby when he's healthy.
I
Of
like
course, I
him. Yep,
like them.
yep.
But let's talk about wide receivers. Brian Thomas is your franchise wide receiver. He's your one. Christian Kirk, my God, let's just get rid of him. Gabe Davis is not the biggest guy, too, Dan. Is
No.
this where maybe we can talk about maybe a McMillan coming in as a wide receiver?
Yeah, McMillan. They could do. Graham is also really good. That defensive lineman
Out of Michigan? Okay, I like
out
that
of
one.
Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely not taking quarterback. They're not taking running back. I think they're fine there.
Okay.
Um, a wide receiver could help, but because I just don't like the contract for Kirk. But if you give them McMillan, who's 6'5", fast, good
Yes.
hands, good size. You put him with Brian Thomas Jr. and Evan Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
That's Parker Washington, and I think that would be a good move for them. And he's one of the top 10 player in the draft probably.
And you know what? I hate saying this, Dan, but if they take McMillan here, you know what? If Trevor Lawrence gets hurt, I'd be okay with Mac Jones going here because this is sort of like a resemblance when Mac Jones was at Alabama, Dan. Great running game, two great running backs there, okay, and two wide receivers that can get the ball downfield. Thomas and McMillan. It's deja vu with Alabama Crimson Tide here. He has the weapons, good running game, and
Yeah,
okay offensive line too, Dan. I kind of like McMillan here, but maybe you said the name Graham here. Maybe doesn't Abdul Carter fall here as a defensive end?
yeah. Abdul Carter could fall to them. I think that would be an excellent pick for them.
Mm-hmm.
Graham could fall, but he could go to us. He can go top 5 maybe.
Okay.
Travis Hunter, I don't think will be there, but I would take him at a second if he fall. But they need defense too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, You know,
Mhm.
McMillan's probably not right to the top 15 players, but I think that'd be a good pick. But I don't know if that's going to be their best thing. You got a couple edge players up here, like
Well,
Mikhail
well,
Williams.
based on their needs, Dan, what would you do? I'm going to put you on the clock here, and let's talk about, you're drafting since you already took, Cam Ward #1 with the Tennessee Titans. You're the GM. You're on the clock for the Jacksonville Jags. Based on your scheme and your needs here, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
I might take a cornerback.
A corner that early? Well, then take Travis Hunter then.
You take with Travis Hunter if he's there, but if he's not there, you could take Will Johnson.
Now that you got me thinking about this, I think Travis Hunter might be the play here because the fact you're getting the top corner in the nation coming out,
If he's
and
there, yes.
and you're going to have gimmick plays out there with this offense playing him out there, Dan. I
Hmm.
think this might be a solid pick. I,
I
wow,
think it'd be a great pick if he's there, because they are 5th.
yeah, I don't think he's going to drop though. I can see a couple teams, jumping that gun
He
and
ain't
taking
getting
Travis
past
Hunter.
us. He ain't getting past the Pats. No
That's true. That's
way.
where I think he's gone. That's where I think he's gone as well.
I think
Um,
if he gets to 4, I think he's going to be a Patriot. But who knows? Who knows?
yep.
The
Eileen
Browns could go
checking
and
in.
take. I think the
Yep.
Browns could take Travis Hunter.
It all depends on how fast they release Myles Garrett or trade him, Dan. If he's
Uh-huh.
gone, that might be a Brandon Graham, or not Brandon Graham, Graham coming off the edge from
Graham's
Miami,
good, man.
Michigan, or an Abdul Carter there. It's all going to fall on Myles Garrett of what happens with Myles Garrett, I think, the
Exactly.
Browns
But
pick.
they also need a guard, but they can get that later in the draft.
Mhm.
There's a couple tight ends. You have Loveland from Michigan,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
have Warren from Penn State.
Oh, he's a
Tyler
game changer, dude. Tyler
Tyler
Warren's a
Warren.
game changer. He's a game changer.
So
He's a
the
game changer.
but they also have Evan Ingram, but you have Ingram,
But he's
Warren,
getting
Brian Thomas.
he's getting old,
Yeah,
Dan. Ingram's getting
but
old too. You know what I
you have
mean?
Ingram, Brian Thomas Jr., and Tyler Warren with that run game.
You're right. You're
You,
right. I mean, yeah, you're right. Eileen checking in. Hey, Eileen, how you doing? Glad to see you here. Let's get to some of
because
the
they had a
conversation.
real good year rushing yards wise,
Mhm.
1,700 total yards for them.
Yep.
Hold
Andy's
on, what
blaming
was
the
that?
Andy's blaming the Jags offense, front office, and
I
the
think
O
the
line.
Kirk contract is ridiculous.
Okay, I agree with that. The contract from the office
But
is just stupidity, but I agree with that one. Yes,
but the Jags do have 36 million in cap space still. So they have
36
a little,
million.
so they have a little room to do something maybe. You could
Mhm,
get get a good day one free agent possibly to
mhm,
fill all your needs, like a guard.
mhm.
I don't know what tight ends are available or linebackers. I haven't even looked at free agency.
Yeah, me either. Me either right now.
I'm just starting to look at the stuff.
Mhm. Now, how do you feel about this when the Jags take a bigger running back like in the second, third? Listen, Tank Bigsby, Bigsby is a yak runner. When he's healthy, I think
Yeah,
he is the guy. Him and
and they still
ETN,
have
I think are
ETN.
1-2 punch. Yeah,
They both have over 1,000 yards. I mean, Bixby had
I mean,
766.
you look at Tank Bigsby when he played for Auburn. That's right. The why he's called Tank. He was a tank. When he's healthy, he can overrun and get a lot of yak yards. I don't think they
And
go running back. I think
they split carries too,
right,
pretty
exactly.
much.
Yep, yep. Pat's taking, which I don't think they'll take an offensive lineman. I think you with a franchise players like this, if they fall to you, Travis Hunter, a person like that, you got
Yep.
to take him. You got to
You
take
got
him.
2 tackles,
Mhm.
Josh Simmons from Ohio State, Will
Yep.
Campbell, LSU. Those
Mhm.
are your top 2 tackles.
No good at maybe free agent wants to play. Is it being free? Yeah, free agent wants to play in
I don't
Jacksonville.
know about that.
Hey,
Sometimes money talks.
that's what I'm saying. Listen,
Sometimes,
you give
you know,
Christian Kirk a huge contract, you give Trevor Lawrence a huge contract. Hey,
yeah.
go there and get your money, chase the bag, right? Chase the bag. Chase the
I
bag.
just can't believe that Kirk
Yep.
contract and the 55 million to Lawrence is just absolutely wild.
Yeah.
Like
And
he didn't. I don't think it was time to pay him that much money. I just don't.
mhm. Yeah.
So
And
what
he
he could
says,
do now?
Campbell from LSU is going to be a franchise tackle. Oh, 100%.
Oh yeah. Oh
Him,
yeah.
him, him and Banks are the top 2 offensive tackles for me right now. You can't go wrong with that
Yeah.
guy.
If we traded down, like say somehow
Mhm.
2 players like Ward gets taken, like players they want, I would take Will Johnson with a trade in the top 10. I would take him, make him my right tackle,
Agree. Mhm.
and then if
And
Thomas gets hurt, you put him on the left side.
yeah, and he says, I forgot about Tank. Yeah, Tank is
Uh,
that's the reason why Tank is Tank. You know what I
he
mean?
only had 168 carries. It's
Mhm.
not a lot.
And he says Kurt wasn't a good free agent. Well,
His
he's
first
just
year, his first year he was. He had over
he
1,000
was.
yards his first
Mhm,
year, but the past 2 years,
mhm.
he hasn't played more than 10 games.
Agree. Well,
So
Dan, let's Jags are 4-13. What do we see for them going into the season? I know free agent hasn't hit, OTAs, the draft, of course. What do you think, Dan? We talked about Tennessee being a top 3 pick next year again. Where do we
I
have the Jags? It was disappointing, Dan. This year was
well,
disappointing.
the Jags are 6. They could take one of the Georgia edge rushers. That's possible
Oh, okay, okay,
because I know they need defense. They take McMillan, the wide receiver. They could
okay.
take a Travis Hunter's there. You have to take him, I think.
Agree, agree.
I think if someone like Graham falls to 6, you could take him. But linebacker, safety, I would take it one of the edge rushers. I'd be tempted to take one of them if
Mhm.
the first 5 your players are gone. You
Okay,
know, could be
okay.
Abdul Carter. What if Abdul Carter falls to 6? The Jags could take him maybe.
That's where I'm leaning toward. I think you know what? I like the pick, Dan. Offense. Travis Hunter's there. McMillan's there. I think you go with them at 6 there. You take him right away.
Hmm.
But if not, you got to go defense. Abdul Carter, we don't know about the
That
stretch
makes
fracture,
sense.
Dan. We don't know about the
No,
stretch fracture, how he's going to drop. Who knows? Do you take him? It's all going to fall on the pro day, what we see with him. But I kind of like the defensive side of the ball because you really got to build that defense. I mean, Josh Hines Allen is okay, Dan. Okay. Armstead's still there. Trayvon Walker's still good.
hmm
But
yeah,
Devin Lloyd's a franchise, linebacker. Of course, he's nasty. But Dan, maybe a corner comes into play because your corners are not that great here.
yeah.
Ventrell Miller, okay, and then Tyson Campbell, which is not the greatest corner. They got burnt all year.
Well,
Maybe,
that's on the road. You're facing the Houston Texans secondary.
yeah.
I don't know what their schedule is like. The Titans have some okay wide receivers. If they
Mhm.
could take one and improve. So I think defense would not be a bad play at all. To be honest.
The perfect world to me is if Travis Hunter falls here. This is the perfect pick for the.
Exactly. If
This
Travis
is
Hunter's there at
perfect.
6, I think you can't pass up on him
Yeah, this
because
is
he
this
could
is
be your kick
Christmas.
returner, punt
Yes.
returner,
Mhm.
quarterback, and give him 15 offensive plays a game.
Yep. This one to me, for if the Jags are sitting there and you want Christmas in April, it is Travis Hunter falling to you. That is Santa just dropped a present in your lap.
But I think the Patriots might take him. We could take him. The Browns could take Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter can go in a number of teams before them.
Oh, yeah, he's gone.
I think he'll be gone by 6. I just do. So that's why I say, your quarterbacks, you're not going to need a quarterback.
Mhm.
McMillan will be there. Graham could be there. Abdul Carter could be there. The Georgia pass rushers could be there.
Mhm.
They're not going to take a tackle, I don't think,
I
unless
don't
they
think
really
so.
like them. So yeah, but I'm going to say defense. I think they're going to go. I think they're going to go either McMillan. If not, they'll take a defensive player, the best defensive player there at 6.
To me, it's going to be Abdul Carter if he falls, or Graham. That's my picks right there for them.
Yeah.
If it doesn't go to the way they want to, where the perfect world happens, it's going to be a defensive end. It could be Abdul Carter if he falls, or Graham. That's where I think they go.
Yep. I don't see them making a trade. They're not going to trade nothing. They're just
Hmm.
going to try to improve their team.
Yep.
And Liam Cohen, I don't know what type of coach he is, defensive guy or offensive guy.
No, Cohen is the offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers, so he's an offensive guy. He
So
loves
he's an
offense.
offensive guy. So
Hmm.
McMillan, you're not going to take a running back. So it's got
No,
to be edge, corner, or wide receiver. One of those 3 at 6.
to me, if I'm Cohen going in there, new team, new philosophy, I'm an offensive guy. Tampa Bay had a great offense as
Yeah,
well.
they have real good
And
offense,
my
creative
thing is,
too.
if I'm going into a draft room, I'm saying, look, Travis Hunter's our number one guy. That's who we want. Excuse me. If he falls, he falls. Because look, you get a defensive guy number one. I get an offensive guy for a 15 play package each game. I enjoy that. But if not,
Hmm.
we got to go best available for our scheme.
Yeah,
We got to take a defensive guy, Graham. Have Carter wherever that may fall, or go into Georgia here with
yeah.
their linebackers are nasty. So I would go there as well. So I could do that. I definitely do that. But
What's up, Larry? What's going on, man?
oh, Larry checking in. What's going on, Larry? Oh, there we go.
What up?
Larry,
What
what's
up?
going on?
What
You
up?
can make sure you check out Larry every Tuesday night on the Part-Time Marks at 10:30 on our network. And also, he's going to be doing a show with us this
Yep.
Saturday at 6 p.m. of Elimination Chamber preview and also a recap of Elimination Chamber. So make sure you check that out as well.
Yeah, if he's
If he
there at
was there,
6.
if he's there at 6, man, you got Christmas in your lap, dude. If
I
Travis
think
Hunter falls,
I think
God,
the pick of the litter edge rusher wise. and if they like the wide receiver to take him, but I could see it being a defensive player. That's my thoughts.
Agree. Agree. Agree.
Hmm.
I mean, I know he's an offensive guy, but you have holes, man. You have holes on defense too. This
Hmm.
offense can do work. I mean, you still got it. Look, Christian Kirk's in his last year of his contract. You got to let him play it out. Nobody's going to want him to buy out that contract. You're okay there. Brian Thomas is your future guy. Your running game is good. Ingram is getting up in age, Dan, but the other guy that you might want to say at Combe and say, hey, I need an offensive guy. Take Tyler Warren here. Take Tyler Warren.
Yeah, yeah. I think Tyler Ward would be an awesome pick too.
Listen,
I think he's going top 10 easy.
if your quarterback
The
can't get the
Raiders
ball,
won't take him because they have 2 tight ends.
oh yeah, Brock
Yeah.
Bowers and Michael Mayer. Yeah, God, if they took him, I'd be like, what? Mine would be like, Ken probably be like, what the hell just happened?
Ken be throwing his TV out the window.
He would. He would.
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
let's move on to another team. Hey, second in the division, Dan. Let's talk about the Indianapolis Colts here. 8-9, Dan. 8-9. Yep. I thought this year they would be maybe 9-8, 10-7, possibly.
Yeah, I thought. You know what's crazy is like but did they go away from Flacco and go to Richardson when Flacco was playing fine?
Okay, let's talk about that, Dan. First, let's talk about Anthony Richardson real quick, who, as Eddie said, giving up on your team. This is the first time I've ever seen a quarterback, Dan, run a 20-yard run and tap out and say, I need a break. Dan, have you ever seen a quarterback do that before?
No. Even Daniel Jones did do that when he ran 80 yards and fell.
Exactly.
He played the next play.
Dan, I watched that game and I'm like, did he get hurt? What happened to him?
I wouldn't even allow him. Like, you get your ass back in that huddle.
Yes.
You ain't taking a break. Period. Get your ass back in there.
Dan, it was
I don't like. See,
it was a
Daniel Jones never did that.
23-yard run, Dan. A 23-yard run, and he actually taps out, Dan, and says, I need a break. Dan, come on.
But my question is, you think they'd take a quarterback? You think Eddie makes an interesting point. Do you think they'd take McCord at 14?
I think it's still too high, Dan, unless he has the best pro day out there, Dan. We've seen quarterbacks jump the gun, Dan. I've seen that happen in many combines, Dan. But I will
say, though,
I think he's the hidden guy in the second round, Dan. I really do.
What I really like about the Colts, though, their wide receiver core is good. You had 37 receptions, 824 yards, and 7 touchdowns for Pierce.
See, I like it. And the other thing is, too, they do have a speedster, Dan, that really never even seen the field. Donnie Mitchell never seen the field, basically, this year, too.
Donnie Mitchell, 23 receptions, but they had 3 guys with 800 or more yards. They all had 7, 10, 15 touchdowns. Pittman had 69 receptions, 800 yards. Josh Downs, 72, 803 yards. It's pretty solid, man.
No, it is. I mean, listen, you have no spots at running back, too. Jonathan Taylor as well. I mean, it's a good running game with Trey Sermon as well. I like their running game, but the question is, at quarterback, Dan, do you take Anthony Richardson, who you jumped the gun and took him? There's a guy that we talk about.
I think they stick with the quarterbacks they have.
No, I agree with that one. But, we talk about quarterbacks jumping like Kyle McCord in the draft. Anthony Richardson out of Florida, 1 year, Dan, basically as a freshman, jumped everybody in front of him to go up so high as a quarterback in the draft. We talk about that. But then again, you got to make a decision. To me, Dan, as a player, as a wide receiver, any one of the 53-man roster, I see, what's his name, Anthony Richardson play. Next week, I don't know who my quarterback is, Dan. There was a game, Dan, I think it was, I forgot who it was against. They didn't announce their starting quarterback till Saturday night, Dan.
I remember
Flacco or Richardson.
I don't know. I would have just let Flacco go the whole season, to be honest. Because Flacco played 8 games and had 4 more touchdowns and 5 less picks. And he had 65% completion percentage. Anthony Richardson, completion percentage 47.7.
Well, I'm not a genius, but I know that QBR can be good with that. Oh, my God.
His rating was 61.6.
That's bad. That is bad. Wow.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Flacco's rating was 90.5.
Yeah. Larry, you're all right. It wasn't. It was after multiple runs. It was after
This is
multiple
even
runs.
this is even more wild. He
Mhm.
played 11 games, had 126 completions. Flacco played 8 and had 162, and had almost 20 less attempts.
Wow. In Larry's defense, it was multiple runs. I get that, but you don't
Still,
tap
take a
out as a
timeout.
quarterback number one. Exactly. Yep. It was Bozo. I mean, I agree. He did have the multiple runs. With Michael said,
Yeah, I'm
I'm
not
not sold.
sold either.
I'm not either. I'm not sold on Anthony Richardson. To me, when you watch a quarterback,
Yeah.
you can win games by your legs, of course, which we've seen, what many quarterbacks do. But to me, a true quarterback going that high, number one, they can run the ball, they can throw the ball, and
I
they can
think
read,
God,
progressions, Dan. Richardson still can't read a wide receiver progression to me.
I
He can't.
think that if Flacco just played the whole year, they would have made the playoffs. I really do.
Hey, look what Flacco did with the Cleveland Browns the year before, Dan.
And let's see what they did. They
You
had
know,
lost to Houston, lost to Green Bay, beat Chicago, Washington, Jacksonville, a loss by 3, Tennessee, win, Miami, win. They lost to Houston, Miami, Buffalo. Then a win, a loss, a win, a loss, a win, a loss, and a win the rest of the way.
I don't know. Eddie says if I was, a Colts offensive lineman, I would have beat Richardson's ass on the sideline. You know, I would like to be a fly. I would like to be a fly on the wall in the locker room. Like, dude, what's up, man? What's up? What's going on here? I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know how I would react to
Now
that. I don't know.
they have the 14th pick. 14.
14th pick. Okay.
Mm,
Larry said while you're doing that, Larry says he hasn't played much QB. If they take their time, he might be okay. I get that, but doing a quarterback carousel is not the answer. Put him out there, put him in the fire, let him play, see
mhm.
what, and build around this dude. Like if he can't throw the ball, listen, he has one of the most amazing deep balls I've ever seen in my life.
You have to
Throwing the
let him
ball.
play a whole season,
Exactly. See,
no matter what happens,
I
no matter
mean,
what.
he's still
You can't.
young. I think
You
what
have
is
to
he
play him
20?
the whole time.
What is he 23 or something like that? Whatever. He's still young.
Yep.
To me, that you went behind the ears. You can't let a guy go out there. Okay, he has a bad series. He has a
Let's see.
bad game. You can't take him out of the game. That just takes away his character for the following game. You know.
They gave up 32 sacks as a team, the Colts, so their offensive line is good.
Okay, yeah, they're pretty good. I like their offensive line. I mean, you got what is his
That's one
name?
thing. They didn't
What
take
is
a
his
lot
name?
of sacks at all. 18
Mhm.
for Flacco, 14 for Richardson.
Yeah, you're pretty good. You got Beeman, Nelson, Quentin Nelson's a franchise guy. He's
That's
nasty.
pretty good, I think.
Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, and Braden Smith. I mean, they're okay. Their offensive line is good.
Let's see. Best available. Let's see. You got they did interior. They could take a Warren if he fell all the way down. Don't know about that. Walter Nolan from that's a defensive tackle. Let's see. Could take a Will Johnson if he falls to 14.
I think he's definitely gone though,
Jade
Dan.
Jade Barron from Texas.
I think Banks is a lot better. I think Banks could be gone by then too. Maybe that's
And
fine.
who would they pick though? I don't think they would take a wide receiver. I think
Okay,
they're
no,
fine.
you definitely don't need a wide receiver. You definitely don't need
No.
that. Jonathan Taylor still has years left. Plus, he was banged up last year too, so he didn't play a full season. You're not going to go there.
They're
Well,
not going to take a guard at 14. I think that's too high.
you know what, Dan? You know what? Offense, you have to score on offense. You have to get a lot of points out there, right? I mean, you want to boost that offensive, scoreboard there. Maybe this guy drops. Let's mention that name again. Tyler Warren. Warren.
What about Colston Loveland from Michigan?
He's bigger than size wise, but
yeah.
I wouldn't take Loveland over Tyler Warren though.
Well, if Warren is gone, if Warren's there, I would take Warren if I'm the Colts. That way you got those three wide receivers and Warren with a Flacco or a Richardson. I think that's a good some good weapons right there and a good run game.
Well, what do the Colts maybe try to build the franchise and drop down a little bit, Dan, to get out of the 14th pick?
If one of the players they don't like is not there, yes.
I think they do.
I think for the Colts that might make some sense. You get an extra second-round pick,
That's what I mean. That's what I
something
mean.
like that, depending on the team. They're 14, so maybe. Yep, they have a center. They don't need a center.
Oh,
They're
Quentin Nelson's nasty. He's a franchise center, of
I
course.
thought Quinn Nelson's a guard.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He is. That's right. Who is
Their
their center?
center they drafted a couple of years ago, I think, is good too. Their
Uh,
offensive line is not bad.
Ryan
Brady
Kelly.
Saxon's good.
Ryan Kelly's
Yeah.
their center. Yeah, Ryan Kelly. Mhm.
So it's very unpredictable at 14. I mean, there
Yep.
could be McMillan could be there. Banks might be there.
Yep. Larry says about talking about Anthony Richardson. They did it backwards through him, where he should have learned from someone behind. But when you take a
Flacco.
quarter, that's what I mean. They should have played Flacco. Let him learn the whole season. Like after that fiasco, let Flacco play the whole season there and learn from him. Because Flacco's been a veteran. What's that?
I don't know if I agree with this.
Trade down into the 20s and draft McCord. I think McCord drops to the second round. There's no reason to trade down. I don't think he's gonna. I think he's gonna be
Unless
there.
He has
an
unbelievable pro day and unbelievable combine.
Well, yeah, that's true. That is true too. I mean, if the way it is now, based on projected, my projection is second round. Take your pick at 14 where you're at here. Go ahead and draft best player available for the Colts and just let it play out. Because then again, I mean, okay, McCord's not going to be starting this year. You're not gonna have him start over Anthony Richardson or a Flacco.
No,
but he's going to be a project clipboard
No,
holder.
if you took McCord, you're letting go. You're not keeping all three.
No, I mean, I think
because I don't think McCord is a player that you put on the practice squad at all.
No, he's
behind a veteran.
Wherever he goes, he's making the 53-man roster. He will make the 53-man roster. I don't even think he's the backup quarterback. I think he's two.
Yeah, I'm going to answer this question. I disagree. A tight end like that is a security blanket for a quarterback. He'll be open a lot.
Listen. When you listen, okay,
and that's usually they run shorter routes. The tight ends.
Dan,
I'll tell you, crossers, the ins, the out, the flat.
That's the thing. Yes.
Like that's why I like the tight end.
And I tell you what, I've been watching a lot of Penn State this year. I actually went to my first game this year. The whiteout game
was good, but when I saw him in the college football playoff, man.
Dan, but listen, this guy doesn't line up at tight end. He lines up at wide receiver.
He's that good. He's so dynamic.
Quarterback. He lines up a running back. He runs motion. He's everywhere. Man. He is a utility player, Dan, that can line up anywhere. This guy is a game changer. To me, honestly, by talent, he is top 5 in this draft for me as a franchise talent player, Dan.
He's
that good. He's good.
He's going to be there at 14.
He's dropping. He is dropping.
No
he is
way,
dropping.
Man.
He is. The only team I can say that won't take him is just like you said, the Raiders. If they do that with 3 tight ends, there is an issue.
The Raiders won't do that. That would be very, very, very foolish.
That's what I mean. That's the only team I can say.
A lot of stud players at 6, like a lot.
Frank Flacco is the only legitimate. I agree with that. But you gotta let Anthony Richardson play a whole season. Just see what he gives you.
You took Richardson number 1.
Yeah.
You gotta play the guy.
Michael Papernick checking in. He says if Anthony Richardson is like most of the running quarterbacks, they don't read defenses well, and their instincts to run first and to get in the NFL. Most rookie quarterbacks in Washington was different. Yeah. That's exactly what I said. What I said.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson, he wins games by his legs. He doesn't keep his head up. Just like we see a Cam Warren do.
How many quarterbacks like this have we seen that don't do well? Jackson's the exception. Allen's the exception.
Yeah.
But a lot of them don't do well, and that's the problem. They always try to depend on their legs too much.
100%.
So I agree with that. I mean, but Anthony Richardson really struggled. I mean, his completion percentage was awful.
Yeah, agree.
Like 40s, under 50% that's pretty bad. And Steichen's a good offensive coach.
True.
And they have wide receivers. They have weapons at a run game.
Oh, I agree 100%.
So I think he has to play. I know the calls are probably like, oh, we could win with Flacco, but Flacco's only got maybe 1 year left.
And the thing is, your playbook is so vanilla with Flacco in the game. It's either run the ball.
That too, though, yes, because Richard can run.
That's what I mean.
That quick option, that read option, where you throw the ball quickly, but he just isn't efficient, and they're gonna have to figure something out because he's got to play much better for being a number 1 pick.
Agree. And he says Kyle McCord is the third QB off the board. It really depends. I think he's the unsung guy, the guy that we're not looking at.
Who else?
But
I mean, who else is there?
uh,
Howard isn't going to go into. He's going to go third round. Howard, fourth.
Howard's not going to. Howard's little man. If he even gets
What?
drafted, to
What
me,
about no? What about? Where do you think Dylan Gabriel goes?
I don't take a flyer on him. I don't take a flyer on him. I don't think he's going
Late
to.
round. Late round.
Yeah, definitely a late round. I mean, even though he's a 6 years player, Dan, but still, Dylan Gabriel, coming from UCF, going to Oklahoma, going
He's
to
also
Oregon,
small. He's a smaller size quarterback.
and
I
he's
like his
left-handed,
talent.
and he's
Yeah.
left-handed too, You don't really see that. Well, Michael
Let's
Penix,
see.
but still,
Got hold on. Got a couple. Yep, we know you think he's trash, Eddie. I think Warren would help. I think Warren would help them.
I think on either side, either way, whatever quarterback you have, I think Warren's a game changer for that team.
Fuck. And he's like, go.
Damn, man, you are. Damn, I don't think you like Anthony Richardson, brother. I don't think you like Anthony Richardson.
He doesn't like Dak either.
No, you don't. Jackson Dart has been dropping. I don't like Jackson Dart.
Guy.
I do not like Jackson Dart. I do not like him.
He's a project all the way. He's like
he's
a practice squad.
Yes,
guy.
he's more of a project guy to me. That coming from Ole Miss, he's in a hybrid system. I just don't see him panning out. Dan, I really don't.
But the Colts, I think they have a good run game, good wide receivers, good offensive line. Who knows? They could take a defensive player possibly.
That's true too. They could do that. They could do that definitely because I think their offense is set. I don't think unless Tyler Warren falls to you, that is the only play on offense that I can see there. Otherwise, you've got to go defense. Maybe the best player available on defense.
Yeah, maybe.
I agree with that one. Well, let's talk about our last team in the division here, Dan. Let's talk about the Houston Texans. Even though, Dan, they won the division at 10-7, to me,
they struggled.
Dan, it was a disappointing year at 10-7 to me. It really was. Stephon Diggs comes in, second year. Was this a sophomore slump, basically, for C.J. Stroud and DeMarco Ryan being a Tennessee Titans? What do you think?
A little bit, but Stroud, I don't think had a bad year. 3,727 yards, 20 touchdowns, 12 picks, 63% completion percentage. I think that's pretty solid. But also, you had Diggs only played 8 games.
Yeah.
So if they had Diggs healthy,
true.
I think that they're better than 10-7 because Diggs is a dynamic wide receiver. He's an impact player. But they still play well, and they still win the playoffs. But then they didn't do well. But I still like their weapons. But I don't like that Tank Dell gets hurt.
That's true. That's true.
And maybe they take a tackle. They have a need for a tackle, but they're way down in the draft. They're 25th.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Let's see, what are they?
With they
25th.
They got Joe Mixon years, which to me he had an okay year, but not the best year. But I think if they had a better offensive line, Dan, they could to me they committed to the run the run this year, Dan. They had to with a bad offensive line.
C.J. Stroud got sacked 52 times.
That's where I think O-line. I think they committed to the run with the bad O-line because their wide receivers were dropping like flies.
It's a lot.
I think they go best available offensive, not offensive tackle, Dan. Larry Tunsil can play, even though he's got a huge contract, but he receives so many double teams this year, Dan. So many double teams on his side of the ball.
They need guard, but I think they would take tackle before guard at 25. But you have Devonta Jackson from Ohio State. He's a good guard.
Yeah, but do you really want to guard over Tunsil? And Blake Fisher from Notre Dame is a starting guy too. I mean, tackle I think is okay.
Tackle.
Really, you want tackle?
I think tackle is such an important. Will Will Johnson be there? I doubt it. But Banks could be there.
Banks, I think, is gone. I think he's a top 15 pick, Dan. I think he's definitely gone.
I think he's gone, and they have Ormond Membu.
Yeah.
From Missouri, Banks, Connor Lee Jr. I like that Notre Dame guy though.
Fisher? Yeah. Fisher's already gone. He's actually with Houston now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah, he's already gone. But that's what I mean. If you could draft the left tackle, what do you do with Larry Tunsil? He's got a contract, Dan. Big contract.
I don't think they would trade him. Would anyone take that contract? I doubt it.
I don't think
What's
they will.
His contract?
I think he still has like 2 years left or something like that.
I think they're stuck with him.
You have to. That's why I mean, if you go left tackle, then Tunsil's going to be floating in the wind at 25 million a year. So I think
Yep.
that to me, I'm going to go left guard because Titus Howard, I think his name is, and Jared Patterson. I think you go with that center. Shaq Mason still can play at right guard. Blake Pritchard
Yep.
in his second year, I think he'll be
Yeah.
fine. I think you go after a center or a left guard next to Tunsil, or those are my positions. Because running back you don't need. But Dan, do you
Yeah,
go?
O-line, yes.
But do you go wide receiver? I mean,
Maybe.
listen, Dan, Tank Dell, we know he might not ever play again, Dan. He might not ever play again. Nico Collins has been injured back and forth. You need weapons to make CJ Stroud go.
That'd be a good pick if he lasts.
Who's that?
You
know what? Dan, I don't like that guy. You know why, right? You know why, right?
Why?
Because when I was living in Altoona, I went to the Penn State Ohio State game.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Remember this? I went to that damn game, and at my hotel, Town Place Suites Marriott there, I went to breakfast on that Saturday morning, and I'm sitting there. I had hot sauce on my eggs, a pancake, and orange juice. I'm getting my hot sauce poured, and I'm walking away. This lady bumps into me, Dan, spills hot sauce all over my Penn State jersey. And I don't even have a Penn State jersey. I'm not even a fan of Penn State. Went out and bought it for one reason, to wear it. This lady spills hot sauce all over my jersey. I'm like, it's no big. Don't worry about it. She had an Ohio State jersey on, number 2. She turns around, and I look at her jersey, and it says, Mbukike's mother. And I was like, you got to be shitting me. You got to be shitting me. I go to the game, and he's the first guy that scores a touchdown, Dan, right in front of me in the end zone. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
That's pretty cool.
It was crazy.
Yeah, they can go wide receiver. They can go corner.
If he falls, that's solid, Dan. That's solid. Bukike here.
If he fell, yeah. If he fell, but I don't know. He's a very talented wide receiver. There's a good amount of teams before 25 that need a wide receiver.
And here's the thing, Mechie's a big wide receiver. He's a lot taller guy. If they get Mbukike, move Mbukike to the slot, Dan, because he's smaller. With him, Nico on the outside with Mechie out there, 2 speedsters, and then Mbukike in the middle as a slot receiver. That could work, Dan. Because here,
Benjamin Morrison, the cornerback from Notre Dame.
He's a very good play out there. I think he's the best guy on defense out there at that point. You think about there, he's a corner. But the only thing is, Dan, he's coming off the injury too.
Yeah,
huge injury. So I mean, he's just like Kyle Hamilton, Dan. He's a game changer if healthy. You think about that.
Yep.
You go him, but you match him up there. You match him up with. They just got Jeff. What's his name? Mbukike as the corner. They traded for him, and then on the other side you have Derek Stingley Jr. I don't think Benjamin falls in the slot here though, because you have two corners unless you move him to safety. Maybe that's a possibility, Dan.
It's possible because they have basically Diggs and Collins. If Dell's never going to play again, they have Michie and Woods. I mean,
Robert Woods is old though. Robert Woods is old though.
Wide receiver would be a good pick at 25 for them.
It would be. It definitely would, because you don't know Tank Dell's status. And Diggs, you know what? We don't know what he is. But he came off. Yeah, exactly. It is a need, 100%. But one, I could go there. I could agree with going there as
wide receiver. Wide receiver, a guard or a tackle for them.
I agree. You already put that up there. Offensive guard, defense tackle, cornerback.
I think their defense is talented enough, and they have. But I think they have a problem though.
What do you think?
They only have $4 billion in cap space.
Wow.
That doesn't even cover your draft class.
I know you don't have the contracts up there, but one guy that their contract with Tank Dell, I think he just signed a big contract as well. I know there's a stipulation in the NFL, Dan.
They're going to restructure his contract without a doubt.
If he doesn't come back, there is a clause in there, the contract with the NFL that you don't bite that contract. It's negative money.
Clause.
Exactly. You don't bite that money. That could be putting them $20 to $30 million plus positive. With the salary cap coming into play.
Yep.
Then you can really go out and get maybe there's
if you free up $20 million, how much you get paid? $15 million?
I think it's $15 to $20 million per year. I think he's
so they get at least $20 million or more in cap space like that.
Right. Here's a name.
Restructure a contract or two, maybe.
Okay. Possibly. Well, here's it. Let me throw this out you. A little scenario here. Okay. You go to the draft, you're going to expect your top 7 picks to carry over $15 to $20 million in money for your contracts, right? Yep. Say something happens to Tank Dell where we get him, on the injury clause, which is dead cap space, nothing against the books
Yeah.
here. Let's say you have $25 million in cap space. Do you make a play or make a trade for Cooper Kupp or Deebo Samuels?
What about Higgins?
Higgins, I think they're going to try to restructure. I think they will. I don't think they can
I
franchise him.
would.
I think they can franchise him, but I don't think he will sign that franchise
Do
tag in
I want
Cincinnati.
Cooper Kupp or Samuel? Samuel, if he's healthy.
That's the thing. If he's healthy, I mean, both haven't played whole seasons. Deebo plays.
He's a handful, man.
He is a Tyler Warren at wide receiver. Lines up at running back. Lines up in the slot. Lines up anywhere.
He could play any position of offense, and he is just so dynamic. But Kupp would be a good choice too, because Kupp, if you have a good, I like Kupp as well, and put him with Diggs, Kupp, Diggs,
and Nico, yeah,
and if you took a wide receiver, that's I want to leave a couple.
And see, the thing is, Coop doesn't have to be the number one wide receiver. Nico's your number one.
Nico Collins,
right? And just like he did with Nika Puka out there, he doesn't have to be the one. He can be. He's not going to demand a double team, Dan.
So you have Nico Collins, Diggs, and
Deebo
Samuel or Cooper Kupp,
and Mechie too. I mean, you can go four wide with these guys. You can go four
That's
wide
actually,
with Mixon in the backfield. Go four wide. Hey, spread the ball out. CJ, we know, can get out of the pocket, throw the ball downfield. He's very smart. This could be a really good guy. And Cooper's 6'4". Put him in a slot. Why not?
Exactly. I'm gonna read some comments here. Houston usually the line help. I agree with that. I think
100%.
guard or tackle makes sense at 25.
I go guard.
I agree with Diggs. Sometimes he's a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's a pain in the ass. Period.
Dan, go with that comment right there. You think about it. Stephon Diggs. He had locker room in the cancer. I get that. Yeah. But that is a true statement. I 100% agree with that, because look what happened.
I don't like about him.
Look what happened in Buffalo. He was a big hothead. Got rid of him, and they still better perform. They traded him, and they still perform. Shakur outperformed Stephon Diggs in many categories. Dan, and he's a second-year guy. Keon Coleman, a great team player.
The Bills' offense,
it's
still really good.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Got rid of Stephon Diggs, and they performed.
Hold on, I got a couple more comments. If he's there, I don't know.
Yeah, if he's there, I don't think he's going to be there though.
If he's there, you take him. Yep, the guard, the tackle. Maybe.
Well, what do you no, I don't agree with them, because no, I'll say hell no.
So,
no, because you have Dalton Schultz still under contract, and you have the Ohio State guy, Cade Stover, which is a big tight end too. Yeah, you don't go tight end here. That's just like the Raiders taking him. No way. No way.
The biggest thing is offensive line, giving up 54 sacks.
Right.
And getting another weapon. Those three things. But if one of those offensive linemen are there, I got to take him to improve my offensive line to protect Stroud, because he gave up so many sacks last year.
That's true. That is true.
All right, a couple more. That Warren would be an amazing pick, but he's not going to fall that far.
No, he's not going to fall. The injury clause on Deshaun Watson. Yeah.
Maybe. Kupp, yep, we talked about. Samuels is a knucklehead.
He definitely is.
Kupp can be your slot guy. I like Cooper Kupp if he's healthy in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Schultz had a bad year.
He did have based on his his itinerary, he did have a bad year too. But that O-line, I mean, you got to have time to get out there, and Dalton Schultz is not.
It wasn't that bad. 53 touches, 532 yards, 10-yard average.
No, it wasn't.
A couple of touchdowns, but that's not bad.
It wasn't bad, but they didn't use him properly. They had him downfield most of the time, getting downfield.
Go ahead.
You want to be that tight end as a scapegoat. I mean, a safety jacket, Dan. He didn't run that safety jacket route. He was downfield a lot. They really used him as a Tank Dell type guy when he got injured, getting downfield more. Utilize your tight end who's a pass catcher, a run blocker, but a lot of times he had to stay in and chip block, Dan. He couldn't get downfield a lot.
But Dalton Schultz also, not sometimes a tight end like him is going to have an amazing year.
Yeah.
Some tight ends don't have the only people like Kelsey and Kittle and only those dynamic guys have like Warren coming in the draft are going to be like that. No one else is really like that.
And the other thing
So
is, Dan, when you have
that's not bad.
Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, and Tank Dell, you're overlooking your tight end. You don't really.
Exactly. If
He
they didn't
bec-
have a
he
Tank Dell
becomes
or Nico Collins,
yeah
he'd have a lot more yards and
he
targets.
becomes your fourth look, Dan. He's the fourth progression on your tree behind these wide receivers.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
Joe Mixon caught a lot of balls out of the backfield too. So he's really the fourth to fifth option on a play. Regarding Schultz.
Exactly. So, like I said, I think their biggest thing is, the defense I think is okay.
Mm-hmm.
They free up cap space, if it takes Duggan's injury clause, but I see them. I'm leading offensive line, guard or tackle,
Agree.
maybe wide receiver. I don't see them going defense unless someone amazing falls down there. I don't see that.
Agree.
So
100%. 100%. 100%.
a couple more.
Mm-hmm.
Read that. All right, got all the comments. But
Caught
yeah,
up.
like I said, for Texans,
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll have a better year this next season. That's
I
coming up.
agree. I
His
agree.
third year, I think Stroud will have a better year his third year than he did his rookie year.
And the thing is that they're in a position where they don't have to build for the future. They're just plugging play.
Exactly.
They're plugging and play certain players. The injuries to Tank Dell.
They already have the
exactly.
team they need to do something in the playoffs and go far.
And
They
their
have the
defense is
coaching.
good. Their defense is good and young too. So basically, you're
Yes, it
just
is.
filling the positions that you lost due to injury right now. Then after that, it's depth. Dan, this team could. To me, it was injury plagued this year on the offense side of the ball, which killed them. And this team is
I
built for
like
the offense.
I like To'o, Al-Shire. I
So
like
yeah, Toto's good.
Stingley Jr. There, Jimmy Ward.
Yeah,
The quarterbacks or safeties.
they're solid. They're solid.
Maybe they would add defensive tackle, but they don't really need that. I think offensive line or wide receiver for them, and we'll see how they do. I think they're definitely the best team in the division. Colts
Agree.
second, and Titans and the Jags. I have no idea. The Jags could end up winning 10 or 11 games
Mm-hmm.
if Lawrence stays healthy. They improve their offense somewhere with the signing somewhere. Maybe because the Jags a couple of years ago were not bad. They were not a bad team a couple seasons ago.
Yeah, agree. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dan, we did the NFC South. We did the AFC South. Didn't Houston replace their OC? Yes, they did. What is the guy's name? God, what is his name? Drawing a blank here. Nick Caley. He was from the Rams. He was from the Rams, I think his name is. Or he's one of those teams, NFC West, that he just got hired. Nick Caley, or something like that, I think it was. Not sure what his name is. Yeah. But Dan, where are we going next week? NFC South's done. AFC South's done. Where are we going to go next week? Since we got to go back to the NFC, Dan, where are we going?
Hold on.
Where do we want to go, Dan? Where do we want to go next week?
Let's see.
Because we know the last two teams are I think is going to be the NFC East is going to be the last team, and then of course the AFC West is going to be there.
AFC East wasn't the worst division. Let's go. We did the South.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. NFC West.
Okay. But that was good. Well,
because the NFC North was the best division in football. So
all right, let's go NFC West because the NFC North had three teams in the playoffs there. They really had three teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll do NFC West, and then the next week we'll do AFC East.
That was a one-team race, basically.
That's why.
Yeah, definitely.
They were the worst team. Yeah. Yep. No, the South was the worst team. They were the second worst division.
Okay. All right. So we got the NFC West next week.
Had three teams with 10 or more wins, made the playoffs, and NFC North had three teams with 9 or more wins.
All right. So next week, where are we going, Dan? Where are we going next week? The
NFC West.
NFC West. So make sure you check it out next week, Thursday, 6 p.m. NFC West talk.
Things could change by then. Who knows? Stafford could be out of there.
You're right.
You're right. Out of there.
We could be talking about a new quarterback in place in the draft, or maybe free agency, maybe a Kirk Cousins signing, maybe a Sam Darnold signing. We don't know, but
maybe.
Yeah, But guys, here's our schedule for this week here. Of course, out of the box tomorrow at 9 a.m. You have the Silver and Black with Ken Fry giving you all the Raiders knowledge. And Saturday we have the Atomic Drop, roughly going to be about 10 p.m. after Elimination Chamber. And also at 6 p.m. we're going to give you a preview of the Elimination Chamber. So make sure you check that out. And guys, also I'm very proud to say this here. On March 7th, a new show is coming back with myself and my co-host Josh, Inside the Octagon, Fridays, March 7th at 7 p.m. every week, talking UFC. Dan, you know how much I love my UFC.
Are you going to do
I am
only
stoked.
UFC or all MMA?
Mostly UFC. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's some other
Yeah, you got
other
bare knuckle.
leagues
You got
that-
exactly.
knuckle.
Yep.
And you have some other ones that are really good too.
Oh yeah, I watch. Yeah, I watch them all. Josh, unfortunately, he doesn't watch them all like I do. I'm crazy about it. I could talk all day long about UFC,
Yep.
but I'm just so stoked that this is coming back here. Inside the Octagon is back March 7th, 7 p.m. every Friday at 7 p.m. I can't wait, Dan. I just can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah, it should be a good time.
Yeah, it should be.
All right.
It should be. So, guys, listen, my name is Paul Spencer. That is Dan Connor, and this is the NFL Weekly Talk. Make sure you join us next week. We'll be back talking NFC West. Until then, everybody, listen to the music, and we'll be out of here. And have a great weekend, everybody.